Shopping on Amazon and you want to support Southgate Media Podcasts, if you go to southgatemedia.com, there's a portal where you can log into your Amazon from there, but a portion of everything you buy on Amazon goes to Southgate Media to help support that. So it's a great way of helping out along with the show.
Hi, this is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Earthlight, and you're listening to Krypton Report.
Alright everybody, welcome to the next episode of Krypton Report. I am your host, Tyler.
And I am your host, Junia.
And we're got a lot to discuss today. We're actually going to bypass this episode. We kind of rushed this one to get it out sooner before the last of our reviews because there's so much going on right now.
Yeah.
So what we're going to kickstart with is this past week at your local comic shop, the Adventures of Supergirl comic dropped. It is written by Sterling Gates, who is a well-known Supergirl writer. And I'm not usually one who likes to read like a lot of tie-in comics, but because of the writing staff behind it, I was very interested in it, and I wanted it to come out in book form before. I didn't want to get the digital. I don't like to do the digital, like the chapters. So I picked this up, and it was a very good read. Ju, have you seen this?
I have not yet. I haven't had the chance to take a look at it. First off, I love the cover.
Cover is great, you know, and it's just kind of funny because it says based off the CBS series, which we'll get to that later.
That is pretty funny. Of course, I love the artwork in the front. It's really awesome. So, looking at it, kind of skimming through it here, because that's what I'm doing. I'm not sure if I like the way that she's drawn completely.
It's interesting because I think it's one of those with likeness rights, where they wanted to look like her on the show, but you can't actually draw her.
Okay.
Because then basically they have to pay for her image and stuff like that. So it's the same thing, like it's the cover shot. If you think about it, just that they use the cover posters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like as a promotion. If you go back and you look at volume 1 of Smallville, season 11, like the cover art looks just like Tom Welling. And then inside it looks somewhat like him, and then as it goes on, it gets a little bit more away from looking like the actors.
Like I don't mind the artist's style. Actually,
no, it's
cool.
good art. Like I enjoyed the book. Like it has the same fun and bounce that the show has. Like I've read one issue. I think it was Flash Zero, maybe, that Mike let me borrow.
Yeah.
That was a tie-in to the show, and I just it wasn't bad. I'm not much for the comics that tie into the shows, but for Supergirl, I was like, I'm gonna give this a shot because it was being written by Sterling Gates.
They make her almost look a little younger. I think that's my big thing.
More
the way she looks in this.
Girl.
Yeah.
But that is definitely something that just popped out. You can check out your local shop.
Very neat, though.
It's part of As We're Building Towards Rebirth, which launches next week, and there'll actually be a Supergirl title back, a monthly. I think it's monthly. I don't think it's a bi-monthly book. It'll be back on comic stands. So, you know, I kind of had hoped they would have got this out sooner to kind of help, you know, fill that void of not having the character even really present in the comic medium.
Yeah.
And then
very cool.
Our second piece of news is this Saturday on Cartoon Network, or was it Boomerang? Or both. They finally launched the DC Hero Girls. It's officially now out.
Is it?
Yeah, because I guess when we watched it was like a preview or something. It was weird.
It was a very cute show, by the way, watching the first episode. I thought it was adorable.
Yeah.
It was a very good way of, you know, bringing the DC superheroes, Supergirls, for lack of a better term, you know, to kids of today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Like I said, it was interesting that even though it's more geared towards girls, I thought it was a very enjoyable cartoon. Mm-hmm. So I'm wishing it the best of success. And, you know, if we see it, catch it, we can discuss it here.
Yeah, definitely.
But then One of the other things of the show, when we filmed Krypton Report, and we named it Krypton Report, was because at the time of this show, they had mentioned they were going to make Krypton the TV series and Supergirl. So we were going to be like, we wanted to do a show that was for both. Well, it's official. Sci-Fi did order a pilot for Krypton. It is being made.
Yeah.
And I guess that's going to series because everyone had their upfronts this week. And there was a teaser made for Krypton. And I pulled it up here. We're going to have Jania read basically what it says in the teaser. No cast, nothing's been announced. But this is what they gave us. So, Ju, would you do the honors?
Yeah, definitely. Set in space, the House of El crest Superman symbol can be seen. While the camera continues onward through the space, a voiceover begins asking what remains when a civilization dies, pondering if their art and culture are remembered after it's all gone. The voice continues, pieces of kryptonite fly by. The flight continues with the voice saying, this is not the story of how our world died. This is the story of how we lived. After the dramatic setup, images of Man of Steel can be seen, along with the new footage of a man and a woman, both Kryptonian, in the midst of a battle, concluding with a message that says Krypton is coming in 2017. The David S. Goyer and Ian Goldberg, or Ian,
either way,
written series will focus on Superman's grandfather as he attempts to rebuild the once noble House of El. See, that's what I was interested in, was wondering what characters they were going to focus in on.
And, okay, so in some comic book canon, this gets confusing because Jor-El's father was also named Jor-El.
Okay.
But there has been other additions and changes, and we've been given other past Kryptonians. So, like I had theorized before, like I wanted to know if the show would be about Jor-El and Zor-El and Zod and really build that foundation. Mm-hmm. But it looks like we're going to go back another generation. Okay. Now, Jania, are you familiar with the Man of Steel prequel comic that came out?
No, I am not.
Now, let me see if I can pull this up here. Because, do you remember in Man of Steel when Clark gets on the ship and he's looking around and he sees all the dead Kryptonians, like still in their caskets, and there's one that's open?
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so I guess David Goyer wrote that specifically for that, and originally they had cut it, and then he had freaked and said they wanted it in there because it was going to play larger. Well, I found a website, and I'll post it on our Facebook, where you can look at a PDF version of the prequel comic that was written by Jeff Johns, Zack Snyder, David S. Goyer, and they wrote the story, and the script was by Sterling Gates. But it is a prequel to Man of Steel, and it focuses on Kara.
Cool.
And in this, Kara is actually a lot older, and it was her casket that was open. So it's a whole story about her.
That's cool.
And her adventure. And the artwork is great. The story was really interesting. It's been a while since I've read it. So I kind of wondered when they said they were going to talk about, good old Grandpappy L. Pappy L. If maybe they're going to touch on that thread to kind of tie it in a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So, it's just one of those very interesting stories. Like, okay, it'll look neat, like the story of Krypton. Okay, awesome. But, the biggest thing about the Kryptonians is not only their tech, but also just their powers on Earth. So are we going to get some sort of Kryptonian that comes to Earth, or, what can we get that's going to make it more interesting than just being some sort of space show?
Yeah. I'm pretty interested in what they're going to want to do with it. It could be very cool to see stuff about, Superman's grandfather. It could be very boring, too. I'm really hoping that that's not the case with this.
And that's the thing, is because this series will tie directly into Man of Steel.
See, I think the reason why Gotham as a prequel story works pretty well as a TV show is because Bruce Wayne is still a part of it. There are characters that we all know and care about that are a part of the TV show. My concern with Krypton and it focusing on the grandfather.
That's right. It's our dog, Elle. Yes. Her real name is Ellie, but I call her Elle. And if you're listening to this show, you know why.
But anyway, basically, I'm just concerned with it being another generation away from Superman. If we're, gonna kind of lose those important characters.
Yeah, I mean...
What's gonna make it interesting?
Exactly. That's the thing is, why do I care?
Yeah.
As
a Superman fan, as a fan of all things Kryptonian, it all bases around Superman. So how is this show going to be able to stand on its own, I guess?
If you ever, and I used to have this book, look at the first, I think I still do on PDF, the first story of Action Comics #1, the planet, the Krypton that Superman was from, they were all super beings. It wasn't later that they adapted it that they had powers because they were on Earth. But where I was going was, Gotham doesn't have anything else that's to tie to. It's not a prequel to Ben Affleck. It's not tied to another show. It's its own universe.
Right.
So it gets to have more freedom. It's not tied to anything else. With what we're looking at here with Krypton is they're saying it's a direct prequel to Man of Steel. So it is tied to the DC Films universe.
Which is cool.
So it's going to play by those rules, those style, and everything like that. But once again, do we care? I mean, what are we going to get that actually makes us feel like we're in Superman's land?
What's going to make it special? What's going to make it stand out?
Are we going to touch on Brainiac? I mean, what can we do that doesn't feel like we're overstepping our bounds before we even get to a Superman story?
And, I mean, we obviously know that Kryptonians in the Man of Steel universe were not, gifted on Krypton. They were normal on Krypton.
I wonder if it'll be a full 22 episodes or if it'll be like a 12 episodes. And I almost kind of hope it's just 12 episodes. Because I think if you did 12 episodes, you could find a core story and really focus in on that and really make that work.
Yeah.
But that's enough of Krypton.
Yep.
We're flying through space to the big news.
Uh-huh.
So, big news. If you haven't heard, the bird's the word.
Supergirl.
It's going to be on the CW.
Yes, it is.
It has been officially renewed for season 2, and it's moving to the CW. Now, what we've learned so far was upfronts were this week for the CW, and they have moved stuff around. Like right now, iZombie's returning, but they haven't said when. The Originals is not coming back until mid-season next year. Because Supergirl's going flat out 22 episode order. It's going to be same time, 8 p.m. Monday nights. So Monday through Thursday will be superheroes on the CW.
Woohoo! Look at that.
So that is amazing. Let's see, what other big news has happened? We know they have to move production to Vancouver. And it was really weird because I read that CBS, the chairman or whatever CBS stated, we probably would have, how did he say? He said it basically like we were going to renew it anyways. But it was like, if that was the case, then why didn't they just do it in the first place?
Yeah, that's weird.
It seemed like something you would say afterwards just to make yourself look good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's also discussion because at one point, like originally when Supergirl was pitched, it was for the CW, but CW didn't want to have too many DC shows. But I think they realize now that a lot of their other shows aren't working as well, and this is their core audience right now, and they might as well ride it out while they can.
Right.
So we know that. Now, with that being said, this is the time where we take a moment to speculate and discuss what does that actually mean for the show.
Yeah.
Because we knew it was over budget. Like, the cost of the show, it wasn't getting the type of ratings that CBS wanted. And we know it's a very physical show,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a lot of special effects, which are basic. And I mean, granted, we've watched The Flash and we've watched Legends, and the effects are good. Every now and then there's a kind of a bad CG Flash, but we let it slide because we understand. And it also...
We're not working on a film budget here, you know?
Yeah. We're not tossing $3 million an episode. So,
right.
First of all, we'll start this. We know for sure that Melissa's back. We know that Kyler, who played Alex, she's back. David Harewood is back. Haven't heard any of the others. Right now they're talking and negotiating that Callista Flockhart may be a reoccurring character, not a main cast member.
Oh, that's sad.
Because of Kat, being Catco. And it makes me wonder, because remember how the first season ended, where she got, Kara got her own office?
Mm-hmm.
And it was very blank.
Yep.
Perfect for a new set.
That's true.
So, that's all I've heard casting-wise, as far as characters.
That makes me sad, because I really have enjoyed Cat Grant in this past season.
And it's not confirmed yet if she is going to be just recurring or full-time. We don't know. There's been no discussion I've heard of Max Lord, because he was technically never a full cast member. He was always just reoccurring in the first season. Now with the lower budget, it makes me wonder what they're looking at budget-wise. Because how much money do they save off the top by just moving to Vancouver?
Yeah.
By not shooting in LA. All the stuff that not being in LA saves them. Can that money be, saved and then just recycled back into the production budget of effects? So do I really have to worry about the effects too much? Hey, we're saving this much money now. We might as well use, the savings or whatever. If it costs $3 million an episode, to shoot in LA. Now let's say it costs, I'm just making up numbers now, $2 million to shoot in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And then they took, $500,000 from that and helped make sure that they kept the special effects up. They're still saving money and creating a quality show.
Right. I think one of my main concerns would be the actors being willing to go from one network to the other. I mean, because with a lower budget, you also have a lower budget to be paying your actors. And
it makes me wonder, I heard some speculation today discussing the idea of a lot of the extras and stuff that you see in the background that will help thicken out some of the scenes. Like Kat, the DEO, we're going to see less of them. The way it's shot, how's that going to change?
Right.
The look, the lighting, definitely the setting. I mean, National City is very bright, very open, very sunny, and we know what Vancouver looks like.
Yeah.
Now, I think if I remember, they did film Psych, a lot of it in Canada, maybe Vancouver area, and that was supposed to be Santa Barbara. So, I mean, I think they might be able to make it look better.
Well, I'm sure there are tricks and there are ways.
There are, but, I mean, that's going to be an adjustment. Just the location, the cast, the quality. Are they going to be able to continue the story threads that they left off on with that mysterious shuttle? What is that supposed to be?
I mean, that could have been part of the cell, though.
Could have been. Is it going to be something that's going to bring about a crisis? Now, before we get into that, I'm glad it's going to the CW, and I say that because I don't think a lot of what I love about the show will be lost.
Yeah.
It's still the same producers and the team behind it. CW and CBS the CW is owned by CBS, so it works together. It's definitely a show, this show is going to do awesome because it's going to be on the network it should have been. And the numbers that it pulled in on CBS, if it pulls in on CW, it'll kill.
Yeah.
But the big thing for me is, I just went blank. Dang it. But we were talking about the Crisis event, okay? Now you're familiar with the crises. Crises? Multiple crises? Crises. It's late. In DC, if there's ever a crisis event, it involves the multiverse. And what I'm wondering is if when Supergirl comes back, it'll pick up where it left off. But then they've been talking about doing a mega crossover event. Okay?
Okay.
And I guess the this is just me speculating now. The villain for Legends is supposed to make fighting Vandal Savage look like a walk in the park. And I'm trying to figure out who or what it could be. And what I want to know is maybe when they do the crossover, it's a crisis. And that's because that's the big problem is Supergirl exists on another Earth.
Right.
The other 3 shows are on the same Earth.
Right. But
Supergirl's on another Earth. So you could pop her over or Barry back for an episode or 2. But we want to see that world interact together. I mean, don't you want to see Cisco hanging out with Wynn? Bro,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, sitting there like, bro. Like, let's hang out. Like, and then Ray pops in and they're like, hey!
Cisco has a thing for Kara as soon as he sees her. Like, he does that big
And then you just see Wynn and Jimmy, like, get in line. And he's like, noted. And then Ray comes back and they're hanging out and he's like, hey, didn't you try to date Kendra? Yeah, me too. But
aw, these poor guys. Seriously.
That's why Zatanna needs to show up.
Zatanna needs to show up?
Yeah, just give them another girl to fight over. But what I'm thinking is that maybe that could be the big crossover. So that Supergirl starts in its own universe, but then when they have the mega crossover event, it pulls it into the currently established, the currently established universe, because that's what we want to see. Is we want to see her interact with these other characters. Now, remember when Barry was on her Earth and she said, "I'm an alien," and he responded like, "Whoa, that's cool." That kind of means they hadn't talked about aliens on the other Earth. But then on Legends, they brought up Thanagar, the alien race of Thanagar. Mm-hmm. So that's introducing that they're on that Earth world universe. There's aliens coming. So who else would you want on your team to fight aliens?
The Suns.
Or 2, because you also have Martian Manhunter.
Mm-hmm.
So pros and cons.
I mean, there's a lot of pros in my book. Like, I absolutely love Supergirl going into CW because I think that there's going to be a lot more of an ability to be able to do some crossovers. And I would just love to see Kara and Barry be best friends.
Yes.
Because they can be.
Yes.
Totally.
I want to see Irish get jealous of Kara. I want to see everyone get jealous of Kara just because Barry and her are pals. But, I don't really see any cons other than maybe just the budget and just some creative things with, utilizing a smaller budget.
Yeah. I would really love for the actors to just, be able to come over. That's my thing. I want the transition for them to be able to happen.
But, that's the big news right now, and we'll be returning to your regular scheduled podcasting programming. But shoot us a message and let us know what you think. And remember, look up in the sky.